Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unit 8. Unit 8 is going to spend a lot of time around functions and more specifically different kinds of functions. So let's kind of get right into it. Doing operations with functions, add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and composition of functions. Composition of function you will hear me refer to as Fogg and Goff. And those are kind of what, that's kind of what they're usually referred to. It's Fogg and Goff, and I'll show you kind of what that means in a minute. But before we get into it, let's take a look at an example here. Carol owns a store where she sells birdhouses, the revenue from which is 125x. The cost of making the birdhouses is given by this. How would you find the profit that she earns on her sales? Well, to figure out profit, you take revenue minus cost. So write a profit function for Carol's sales. So the revenue would be 125x, and the cost would be 65x plus 5,400. Now, simplifying this is not too tough. So it's going to be 125x, 65x. So when I subtract that, that should be 60x minus 5,400, where x is the number of birdhouses she makes. So that kind of raises a bigger question. If I'm doing the sum, difference, product, or quotient, what does that look like? So let's kind of take a look at this first. Anytime you're doing a sum like this, all that means is take your f of x and your g of x and add them together. Okay, so what that means is this. If I'm doing the sum, that means I'm going to take x plus 2 plus 3x. And I can put parentheses around them, but hopefully you recognize parentheses don't do anything in this situation. So my sum would then just be 4x plus 2. Likewise for subtraction, it would be f of x minus g of x. So now here's where I do have to be careful, because that's going to be x plus 2 minus 3x. So that's going to be negative 2x plus 2. So then multiplication, division, obviously make their own messes here. So that's going to be f of x times g of x. So it's just multiplication, which we've talked about before. It doesn't go away. So that's just going to be x plus 2 times 3x, which is just going to be 3x squared plus 6x. And last but not least, division, which I'm hoping most of you guys could figure out, is just going to be f of x over g of x. But you've also got to figure out that, you know what, your bottom function cannot equal 0. All right, so you've got to kind of say whatever the bottom function is does not equal 0. So what I'm saying here is this. You have to go x plus 2 over 3x. And you got to say 3x cannot equal 0. But then I can simplify that and just say, you know what, x can equal 0. All right, so circle this, star it, keep it handy because it's going to play a big role in this section. So if I take a look here, if I'm doing the sum, that's going to be f of x plus g of x. So it's going to be x squared minus 3x plus 1 plus 4x plus 5. So now, what can I add together? Well, the x squared is still the x squared. So then I can go plus x plus 6. There is my sum. This side got cut off, but this side is actually going to be f minus g of x. So that's what I want to do here. I want to take f of x minus g of x. So it's going to be x squared minus 3x plus 1 minus 4x plus 5. Be careful with signage here. Okay, make sure you put it in parentheses so you're keeping your right signs. So it's going to be x squared minus 3x plus 1 minus 4x minus 5, okay? Be aware of this little sign here, okay? Make sure you're changing that up. So it becomes x squared minus 7x minus 4. All right, that's what my answer looks like. Okay, so far so nothing too tricky here. So now when I multiply it, this kind of brings its own little tricks to it. So what happens here is this: I take f of x times g of x. So that becomes x squared plus 5x minus 1 times 3x minus 2. Now this is where if you paid attention in intermediate algebra, it really helped, because whenever I have a situation like this, I draw a box. I go 3x minus 2, x squared, 5x minus 1. Then I'm just playing the game of filling in the box. So that's going to be 3x cubed. That's going to be minus 2x squared. This is going to be 15x squared, negative 10x minus 3x, positive 2. So when I put this together, 3x to the third plus 13x squared minus 13x plus 2, there is my answer. Boom, right there. So when I do division, same kind of idea. I'm going to take x squared plus 5x minus 1 over 3x minus 2. Okay, so now this is where things get a little tricky, because I've got to actually do either long division or synthetic division. So what I can do is I can do long division, go x squared plus 5x minus 1 over 3x minus 2, which you cannot really do very easily. So if you left it like that, it wouldn't be terrible, but you should try and simplify it. But it wouldn't be easy. It might actually be easier to go synthetic. So if I go synthetic, I'll go 1, 5, negative 1. Set 3x minus 2 equal to 0, so x would equal 2/3. So 1 times 2/3 would be here. Add it, so that would be 5 2/3. 5 2/3 times another 2/3. This is going to be 3 7/9. So that would be 2 7/9. So that becomes then x plus 5 2/3 with remainder 2 7/9. Kind of an ugly problem, but so I mean you'd still be dividing that. If you left it like this, if you tried to divide it and it didn't work, I mean that would be fine. So let's see, take a look. 5x squared 3x minus 2 represents the length of a rectangle. 4x 25 represents the width. Write a function that represents a perimeter. So if you've got a rectangle, 5x squared plus 3x minus 2, 4x plus 25. So you're doing perimeter. So that means you're adding. So it means you're going twice the length plus twice the width. So that would be 2 times 5x squared plus 3x minus 2 plus twice 4x plus 25. So 10x squared plus 6x minus 4. Hopefully you're starting to see where I'm going with this. So then I'm adding these two things together. So my final function is 10x squared plus 14x plus 46. There's my answer. Okay, that's what I'm trying to put together. All right, now let's gears here a little bit. So do me a favor, and all I'm doing now is evaluating for each function. So f of 2, I'm putting 2 in for x. Okay, so now g of negative 3, that means I'm going to go negative 3 squared plus a negative 3 minus 1. Careful of signs, that's going to be 9 minus 3 minus 1. That is going to be 5. So now, what happens here? Well, what I need to do now is run g of negative 3 and then put that answer into f. So I know that g of negative 3 is 5 because I just ran it. So now I'm going to put 5, and I'm going to take f of 5. So 5, f of 5, f is x plus 3, so that's going to be 5 plus 3. So my final answer is going to be 8. Switch it around. What I'm doing is I'm going to take f of negative 1, so I put that one in there, negative 1 plus 3 equals 2. Now I take 2 and put that into the function for g. So that's going to be 2 squared plus 2 minus 1. So that's 4 plus 2 minus 1. So that's going to be 5. So notice what I did. I took the inner part, put it through the function, then I took the answer and I put it in the outer function. Okay, that's called a composition of functions. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm doing. This is called a composition of functions, and all I'm doing is putting one inside the other. So g of x is this. All right, so I'm taking f of x squared plus x minus 1. So I'm taking this function and I'm putting it in for x in the other function. So what that means is I'm going to have x squared plus x minus 1, that whole thing plus 3. So my final simplified answer is going to be that. All right, so I'm going to take the entire function and put it in the other function. So f of x is x plus 3. So I'm going to take that and substitute it in to g of x. So that means wherever there's an x, I now put x plus 3. So x plus 3, be careful. All you guys are going to try and tell me it's x squared plus 9. That is incorrect. That is not going to be correct. It's actually going to be x squared plus 6x plus 9 plus x plus 3 minus 1. So it becomes x squared plus 7x plus 12 minus 1 is going to be plus 11. That would be my composed function. I'm putting the two together. So that's kind of what it is. Fog and golf. Fog means g of x, f of x. So you kind of work backwards. Golf is exactly the opposite. So you're going to do f of x first, then you're going to put that into g. So if I do fog here, let me zoom in a little bit. So if I take g of x, and I'm going to put that in for x. So I'm going to take 3x plus 4 squared. So that's 3x plus 4 times 3x plus 4. And you can FOIL, or if you do the box, do the box. So that'll be 9x squared plus 12x is plus 24x plus 16. There's my composed function right there. So find f of g of x down here. So take g of x, just 2x minus 1. I'm going to put it in that function. So I'm going to take 3, 2x minus 1 squared minus 4. So that's going to be 3, 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1 minus 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4x squared minus 2x is minus 4x plus 1 times 3. So that's going to be 12x squared minus 12x plus 3 minus 4. And now, hang with me. I know it's a tough question. We're almost done. Right there. Boom. So all I'm doing is a lot of algebra, a lot of it simplifying and putting that together. So here's kind of a good representation of it. I take x, I put it into f, I take that answer, and I put it into g. All right, take your time, ask questions. This is not an easy thing. Be very, very careful and very diligent, especially with signs. All right, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.